This was the trauma of my childhood. I was 9 or 10 years old. I was so excited because Halloween was coming. My friend Noah and I were going to spend Halloween outside. We were going to go door to door and collect candy. Noah was 3 years older than me. I was so excited. School didn't end for me that day. After school, I went home without wasting any time. We had dinner with my family, then I put on my costume. I convinced my mother to buy me a Scream costume, although it was hard. I asked my father to drop me off at Noah's house. My father dropped me off at Noah's house. I rang the doorbell, and Noah invited me in. He wasn't ready yet. "You sit inside with my mother, I'll get ready and come right away," he said. Noah's father had died a long time ago. Whenever I went to Noah's house, I would see his mother drinking alcohol in the kitchen. Her husband's death had affected her a lot. I don't think Noah's mother loved me very much. Maybe it was because I was a child, but I could sense it in her eyes and behavior. So I sat quietly until Noah arrived. Noah arrived about 5 minutes later. He was wearing a skeleton costume. We took our bags to collect candy and started knocking on neighbors' doors asking for candy. I was so excited. It was the first time my family had let me go out by myself. We were knocking on neighbors' doors and collecting candy. My bag was already full of candy. The people we knocked on welcomed us with smiles. We were having so much fun. When we said trick or treat, everyone was choosing candy. Since it was Friday, we wouldn't be going to school the next day. So we decided to collect as much candy as we could. We had been collecting candy for 2 hours. We were tired and hungry. There was a man selling hot dogs a little further away. We bought 2 sandwiches. The man didn't charge us. He said, "Let me give you a gift instead of candy." We were happy to have our money in our pockets. The man was very cheerful. He asked questions like, "Why are you walking around alone? Which school do you go to? How old are you?" We talked to the man for about half an hour. There were a few houses we hadn't visited. We wanted to go to those houses too. We thanked the man selling hot dogs. "Our bags aren't full yet. We have a few houses to visit," we said. The man laughed at us and said, "I've already sold all the sandwiches. Don't go out there alone at this hour. My house is 2 blocks away. I can give you a bag of candy if you want." Noah and I looked at each other, laughing. We were going to exceed our goal for that night. We agreed. The man was walking down the street, and we followed behind him. He looked nervous. He kept looking left and right. This scared me a little, but I didn't pay much attention because I trusted him. It was something strange. He said his house was 2 blocks away, but we had been walking for about 10 minutes. As we continued walking, I noticed that the streets were getting more deserted. I was scared. "Are we there yet?" I asked. "We're almost there," he replied with a smile and kept walking. Finally, we arrived at his house. "Come in, kids. Let me offer you some Cokes," he said. "Let's wait outside," I told Noah quietly. But he didn't listen. He followed the man into the house. I followed Noah into the house. I wanted to show that I wasn't afraid. But now that I look back, I realize how wrong that was. 2 minutes later, he came back with 2 bags of candy. We thanked him. We told him it was late and we had to go, but the man wouldn't let us go with various excuses. Noah and I locked eyes. We were starting to understand the seriousness of the situation. Actually, I felt something strange, but I couldn't explain it to Noah. The man got up and locked the door of the house. We were scared and didn't know what to do. It was really dangerous to follow someone we didn't know and then go into their house. But we had no idea that such things could happen to us at our age. Noah said to the man, scared, "We have to go." The man said, "You can go, what's your rush? We're having a nice conversation." What were we doing in that stranger's house? I regretted it so much, but the damage had already been done. We had to find a way out of here. "Can I have another glass of Coke?" I said. The man said, laughing, "Of course." When he went to get the Coke, I immediately took out my phone and sent my location to my father. In order not to get caught, I quickly sent a message saying, "Dad, help me." Noah started to cry and shout, "I want to go." The man didn't say anything. He just smiled horribly. Noah started to run towards the door, but the man grabbed his arm and said, "Where do you think you're going, you little punk?" and threw him onto the couch. "You can go whenever I want you to," he said. Things were getting out of hand. After 20 minutes, there was a loud knock on the door of the house. When I heard the knock, I saw the fear in the man's eyes. He ran towards us and covered our mouths. "If you make a sound, I'll kill you," he said. I started to cry after hearing those words. We had to do something to get away. I bit the man's hand and shouted, "Help me!" I started running around the house so he wouldn't hurt us. I didn't want him to catch me, but where could I run? Noah had somehow escaped from the man's grasp. Suddenly, the door was broken down violently. I heard a voice say, "Where are you, kids?" It was my father's voice. He had come with the police. I ran towards my father, crying. The police caught the man. He was shouting, "I didn't do anything. I just gave them candy." I'm sure his intentions weren't good, because if he hadn't wanted to hurt us, he wouldn't have locked the door. If he hadn't known what he was doing was a crime, he wouldn't have covered our mouths, so we wouldn't make a sound when the doorbell rang. We were lucky that night that the man didn't check on us. Maybe he didn't think that kids that age would have phones. It's a good thing he didn't. I don't even want to think about what would have happened to us if we hadn't called for help. After that day, my family never let me go out alone until I was 18. I didn't dare go out alone for a long time anyway. I had nightmares for years. I was always in that house. I'm 27 now. I still feel the same anxiety I felt that first day when I tell the story of this terrible event. Halloween had finally arrived. I don't know why, but I really love Halloween. Kids collecting candy, costumes that trigger our fears. I always thought it had a mystical air. It was the first time I was going to spend Halloween alone at home. My family had bought enough candy for me to give to the kids before they left. I love candy too. I don't know if I'll have any left for the kids. I had gotten up early that morning. I went for a walk with my dog, Max. Then I came home, took a shower, had breakfast, and sat in front of the TV. I started watching Breaking Bad. There wasn't much to do anyway. From time to time, kids would come, and I would give them candy and then go back to the TV. I played in the garden with my dog Max for a while. He was a very protective Doberman. It was 6 o'clock in the evening. I ate the food my mom had prepared for me. I texted my friends and played PlayStation a little. I was bored because I was home alone. It was 8:30. I went to my room to sleep. I spent some time on Twitter. I woke up when the doorbell rang. I grumbled because my sleep was interrupted and went towards the door. When I looked out the peephole, I couldn't see anyone. I opened the door angrily. No one was there. The kids must be joking. "This isn't funny, kids. Take your candy and go," I said. I left the candy in front of the door and closed the door. I waited for the kids to come. I wanted to scare them and have some fun. My plan was ruined by the barking of my dog, Max. The kids could guess I was there. Max was very grumpy. It was obvious that something was bothering him. I thought he was sensing the kids' presence. I waited a little longer. No one came to get the candy. Max was still barking. I've never seen him this grumpy. I took my dog to my room to calm him down. I couldn't sleep, so I continued watching a series on my phone. About half an hour had passed. The door rang again. My dog, Max, was barking like he was crazy. I quickly went to the door. I wanted to give candy to whoever came and send him away as soon as possible, because there was no other way to quiet my dog. But the strange thing was, he didn't obey my commands at all that night. I looked through the peephole. Standing in front of the door was a man who was about 6 feet 3 inches tall, wearing a Michael Myers mask. No one other than children had ever come to our house to ask for candy before. This scared me a little. "Who are you? What do you want?" I called out. I couldn't control myself. I was frankly scared. "Trick or treat," said the man outside. I assumed it was a man because I had never seen a woman that big and about 6 feet 3 inches tall. "Candy," I said. My voice was shaking with fear. I remembered the candy I had left in front of the door for the children. "There's a bag of candy in front of the door. You can have it," I said, and took a step back. There was something strange about that man that I couldn't describe. I listened to the sounds carefully. I hoped he would take the candies from in front of the door and walk away. I waited for a while, but I couldn't hear any footsteps. I looked out the peephole in fear. The man was gone. I slowly opened the door. He hadn't taken the candies. The candies were still there. I took the candies and quickly closed the door and locked it. I was actually a little sad. Maybe he was a man who collected candies for children. I was very angry with myself for behaving this way, but I couldn't help it. I was very scared. I went up to my room, petted my dog, Max. I watched some more TV series. But I was sad for treating that man badly. I tried to sleep with these thoughts. Just as I was about to fall asleep, my dog, Max, started barking again. He was scratching the door. I didn't understand why he was acting so grumpy today. I had never seen my dog act like this before. At that very moment, I heard the door opening. I guess the backyard door had opened. Fear had taken over my entire body. I was shaking involuntarily. I had to be sure if that voice I heard was real or if it was just my mind playing tricks on me. I slowly approached the door. I opened the door very quietly. I went out into the hallway and started listening to the sounds. I could swear that I heard footsteps coming from inside the house. The sounds were coming from downstairs from the kitchen. I hid at the top of the stairs. I was trying to see who was inside the house. Suddenly I saw him. The person inside the house was the man wearing a Michael Myers mask who had just been standing at my door. My heart almost stopped. I didn't know what to do. My dog, Max, was barking like crazy. I slowly went to my room. As soon as I opened the door to my room, my dog suddenly jumped into the kitchen. I didn't dare to follow him. I went to my room and locked the door behind me. I picked up my phone and immediately called 911. I couldn't speak because of my excitement and fear. I finally pulled myself together and told the police what had happened. "Come quick! There's a man in my house. He has a scary mask on his face. He wants to hurt me. Help me," I said. The police said they were on their way. I felt a little relieved, but I kept repeating, "Please come quickly." "Don't worry, help is on its way as soon as possible," he said. I was waiting with the phone on. I can't describe my feelings at that moment. My dog, Max, was still barking inside the house. It was obvious that he was struggling with something. The sounds coming from inside the house showed this. The sound of my dog barking was coming from the garden. I looked out the window into the garden curiously. My dog was chasing that man. At least the danger had moved away from my house. I called out to my dog from the window, but he wouldn't listen to me. The police arrived about 10 minutes later. I ran to the police and told them what had happened. I could barely hold myself back from crying. When the police searched the house, they saw that the back door had been forced open. There were also traces of blood in the kitchen. I think my dog, Max, had bitten that man. I called my family and told them everything. I told them that I was very scared and that I couldn't stay home alone that night. I told them that I was staying at my friend Jack's house. I called Jack immediately. He arrived with his father 10 minutes later. I spent that night at Jack's house, sleepless. I don't know what I would have done without my dog. I really don't know what that man's intentions were. Was it a Halloween prank? Or a psychopath who wanted to hurt me? I've never been able to find the answer to that question. I want to believe it was a prank. When I think about it that way, I feel a little better, but my feelings tell me otherwise. Halloween fell on the first week of November that year. If I remember correctly, it was on a Saturday. We were going to celebrate Halloween by throwing a party at my friend Emma's house. Emma's family wasn't home, so we had prepared brochures during the week and distributed them to everyone at school. Our door was open to everyone. We started party preparations in the morning. Emma and I went shopping. We bought all the necessary supplies and drinks. We wanted everything to be perfect. Everyone who came had to be happy with our party. After we finished our shopping, we made the house ready for the party. The party was going to start at 8 p.m. It was already 7 p.m. while we were doing our chores at home. Emma and I immediately put on our costumes. I wore a vampire costume, and Emma wore Frankenstein. We looked really funny, but that was the concept. As it was approaching 8 p.m., our friends started to arrive slowly. We were completely ready for the party. When 9 p.m. came, everything was as we wanted. We were throwing a big party. This was a dream Emma and I had had since we were kids. The party was going much better than we had thought. We were chatting with our friends, drinking and dancing. I bought a drink to relax and was watching my friends in a corner of the house. At that moment, a man I didn't know came to me. He had been watching me since the beginning of the party. He offered me to dance. I didn't accept. He insisted, as I refused. This situation made me very uncomfortable. I immediately went back to my friends and told them about the situation. The strange thing was that no one at the party knew that boy. I didn't dwell on it too much, so as not to spoil the atmosphere. About an hour had passed. He came back to me with a drink in his hand. "Can we have a drink?" he asked politely. I told him that I had drunk too much tonight and didn't want to drink anymore. Since I didn't reciprocate his interest, he said something and left. If I understood correctly, he said, "I get what I want." It made me very uncomfortable to encounter such a situation at a party I was at to have fun. I couldn't focus on the party because I was thinking about why he said that when I left. I was scared inside. I told my friend Emma about this situation. There are drunks like this at every party. Just have fun. The party will be over soon anyway. The real fun will start when everyone leaves and we're alone, he said. Emma and I planned to watch a horror movie after the party. We had bought our favorite snacks. It was almost 12 o'clock at night. The party was about to end. There weren't many people left, but the man who had been bothering me was standing in a corner just staring at me. His gaze really bothered me. As the hour approached midnight, the party was completely over. There was no one in the house except Emma and me. Emma and I sat on a couch and turned on our favorite movie, Scream 2. We were very happy that the party we had thrown had gone perfectly. Everyone left happy. When the movie was over, we decided to go to sleep. Emma showed me the room she had prepared for me. The party preparations had tired us out a lot, so it wasn't hard for me to fall asleep. I woke up scared when I heard the sound of breaking glass coming from inside the house. I was in a stupor. I was trying to figure out what had happened. I heard Emma's voice. It was coming from the hallway. She was very agitated. I went to her immediately. "What happened?" I said. She didn't know what had happened either. When we went down the stairs, we saw that the window of the door was broken. This scared both of us a little. When we went towards the door, we saw a stone inside. We were now certain that the door window had not broken on its own. Someone had done it on purpose. At first we thought it was a prank played by our friends, But we knew they would not go that far. At that moment, we heard a sound from the kitchen right behind us. It sounded like footsteps. When I got a little closer, I saw someone hiding behind the kitchen door. His reflection was visible in the kitchen window. I shouted in fear, "We have to get out of here now." "There's someone in the kitchen," I said. We ran out the door and into the garden. We were out of fear. We didn't know what to do. We were out of breath. When I looked back for a moment, I saw the man watching us from the door. He was wearing a black cloak, and he was just staring at us. Terrified, we left the garden and went to Emma's nearest neighbor and asked for help. We told her what had happened and called the police. We kept an eye on the door. We were very afraid that he would come after us. The police arrived 15 minutes later. We waited in the garden while the police looked at the house. The police couldn't find anyone in the house. Whoever the man was who had entered the house had already left. But the police found out that the door window was broken from the outside when they investigated. They took the camera footage and went. They said they would call us if they found anything. The police called Emma the next day. They identified the person who entered our house in the camera footage. Emma said that I should come to the police station as well. We were going to try to identify the person seen in the camera footage. When we got to the police station, I was shocked by the footage they showed us. At first, it wasn't clear who it was, but when the police zoomed in on the footage, I realized that the person who entered the house was the man who had been harassing me at the party. I explained the situation to the police. I mentioned that he had been harassing me at the party. The police told me not to be afraid, that they would definitely catch that man. I don't know if that man was caught because we haven't heard from the police that he was caught. It really bothers me to know that we live in the same environment with such psychopaths. I have never encountered a similar situation since that incident, but the deep scars he left on me still remain.